Hi everyone, and thank you so much for watching my channel, The Witty Turtle. In today's class, we are going to study presumptive taxation, right? So, what is the meaning of presumptive taxation? Generally, what happens by doing all the calculation, we have to calculate the profits and gains which are arised from your business or profession, right? The calculation we have to do that, right, in order to get the final net profit on which the tax is supposed to be paid, or the net taxable amount we have to calculate. But there are certain businesses and there are certain sections where provisions are already mentioned in Income Tax Act, where for some businesses and for some conditions there is a predetermined percentage on the turnover which will be deemed to be the total PGBP income, right? For example, in case of a non-resident engaged in shipping business, the percentage is given in the Income Tax Act as 7.5%. 7.5% of the total turnover. Okay, so that 7.5%, whatever amount will be there, that will be known as your PGBP income. For example, let's say your annual turnover is 100 lakhs, right? So 7.5% will be how much? 7.5 lakhs. So that 7.5 lakhs amount will be known as your PGBP income, right? So without any further delay, let's start with section 44B. This particular section speaks about special provisions for computing PGBP income of shipping businesses in case of a non-resident, where the SSE is a non-resident. Okay. So the first point that we need to remember in this section is that section 44B overrides all the sections between section 28 to section 43A, right? Section 28 and section 28 to section 43A. Whatever provisions are there between these two sections, all those sections and all those provisions are of no use when we are talking about section 44B, right? So the legal language says, notwithstanding anything contained in section 28 to 43A in case of a non-resident, right? So whatever is written in section 28 to 43A, just keep it aside. That will not be applicable in this context, right? So this says that if a non-resident is engaged in the business of operation of ship, or it is engaged in the business of shipping business, right? So in that case, what will be the PGBP income? The PGBP income will be 7.5% of the aggregate of the following two things, right? So before understanding the following two things, if we go back to the basics of income tax, then we have studied that basically two things are taxable: the income received in India and the income accrued in India. The income received in India and the income accrued or earned in India, right? So the whatever we are going to study now, those two things are based on these two simple principles, right? Received in India and accrued in India. So it says that if a non-resident is engaged in the business of shipping, then in that case the PGBP income shall be equal to 7.5% of the aggregate of the following two things. The first thing is that any amount paid or payable in India or outside India to the SSE for carriage of passenger, livestock, or goods which are shipped at any port in India. So in this case, the important point is shipped at any port of India. So in this case, whether the amount is paid in India or paid outside India, that does not matter. But if whatever amount, whatever the load, whatever the goods or livestock or passengers, if they are shipped at any port in India, or in normal language we can say that वो इंडिया के किसी पोर्ट में लोड हुआ था, it was loaded in any of the ports in India, then that amount will be taken into consideration. And the second point says what? It says that any amount received, receivable, or deemed to be received in India, right? and यहाँ पे it is irrespective of the fact that where the livestock or the goods or the passengers were shipped, right? They may be shipped in India or they may be shipped outside India, right? It doesn't matter. But if the amount is received or deemed to be receivable in India, then in that case, that particular amount will be taken into consideration, right? Now, this also includes the demurrage charges. When we are saying that the amount payable or paid in case where the stocks are loaded in any port of India, so in this case, in that amount, any demurrage charges or any handling charges are also included, right? They are again also included. Now, so what are the two things? The first is that if the goods are loaded in any port of India or the goods are shipped in any port of India, and the second point is that if the amount is received or it is receivable or it is deemed to be received in India, right? So the aggregate of these two amounts shall be taken as the total turnover, and 7.5% of these total turnover shall be considered as the PGBP income of that non-resident, right? I hope this is clear. Now look at the following example that is given on your screen. Here, Mr. Sam is a non-resident who is residing in USA, right? And now he is loading goods of rupees 8 crores in the ship, okay? And out of those 8 crores, 3 crores are received in India and the 5 crores are received outside India, right? And the ship has started going towards India. And finally, the ship reaches Mumbai. Mumbai is a port in India. So finally the ship reaches Mumbai, and there what happens? Whatever goods were sent by Mr. Sam, that gets unloaded, and after that, some fresh goods are loaded in that same ship, right? And those goods are loaded where? They are loaded in the Mumbai port, right? So it is loaded in India, in any port of India, right? So what happens in this case? Again, at the Mumbai port, load of 10 crores are again shipped in the ship, right? And out of those 10 crores, 7 crores are received in India and 3 crores are received outside India, right? Now, in this example, you need to understand that to calculate the PGBP income of the shipping business, out of these four amounts, right? 3 crore, 5 crore, 7 crore, and 3 crore. Out of these four amounts, which all amounts you are supposed to take to calculate the PGBP income, right? So the provision says what? You have to take all those amounts payable in the case where the goods are loaded in any port of India, right? If the goods are loaded in any port of India, then whatever amount is payable, that amount shall be taken as your turnover, right? So in India, goods of rupees, how many rupees are loaded in the ship? 10 crores. So this 7 crore and 3 crore both will be taken into consideration. Now coming to the second point, it says that any amount received or receivable in India, right? So coming back to the 8 crore load, out of that 3 crores are received in India, right? So a total of 13 crore, 7 crore plus 3 crore plus 3 crores. A total of 13 crores will be considered as your total turnover, and your PGBP income of the shipping business will be how much? 13 crores multiplied with 7.5%, which comes as your 97.5 lakhs. That amount is your is known as your PGBP income, right? I hope this is clear. This is the simplest, or you can say the easiest way to understand this particular section. There is a very similar section to this, which is your section 44 BBA, right? So in this section what happens? The provisions are very similar. Only the only difference is that in case of section 44B, we are considering the shipping business, and in case of section 44 BBA, we are taking considering the operation of aircraft, or you can say the aircraft business, right? And the second difference is that In section 44B, 7.5% was being taken, and in this case 5% is being taken. 5% of the aggregate of those two following points shall be considered as your PGBP income, right? So, coming to section 44BBA, it says that special provision for computing PGBP income of operation of aircrafts in case of non-resident, where the SSE is a non-resident. So, in that case, what happens? Again, in this section also, the first point is that this particular section, section 44BBA, overrides all the provisions mentioned in section 28 to section 43A, right? All those provisions are being overridden, right? Now, in this case, the non-resident SSE is engaged in the business of operation of aircraft, right? The SSE has a business of aircraft. Now it says that a sum equal to 5% of the aggregate of the following amounts shall be deemed to be the PGBP income, right? 5% of the following two things. The first point says that any amount paid or payable uh, where those things are carried from any place in India, right? They are carried from any place in India. Why? Because it is considered as they are accrued in India. This is the flight, okay? In this aircraft, whatever goods you are loading in any airport of India, it is deemed that the worth of that good in India is accrued, right? Accrued in India, right? So again, that amount will be taken into consideration. And the second point says that obviously, whatever amount received or deemed to be received on behalf of the SSE or by the SSE on account of carriage of passenger, livestock, mail, or goods from any place outside India, right? The first point says what? On account of carriage of goods, passenger, livestock, or mail from any place in India. And the second point says the amount received or deemed to be received in India. The first point represents that it is accrued in India. The second point represents that it is received in India, right? So the aggregate of these two things will be your total turnover, and your PGBP income will be 5% on the total turnover, right? I hope this is clear. These two sections are clear. The next section that we are going to study now is section 44BB, right? Section 44BB speaks about special provision for computing PGBP income of supplying service or hiring plant and machinery for extraction, prospecting, and production of mineral oils in case of non-resident. So in this case, the SSE is a non-resident who is engaged in the business of providing services or facilities, right? The first thing is that he is engaged in the business of providing services or facilities, or he is supplying plant and machinery on hiring basis for the purpose of extraction, prospecting, and production of mineral oils, right? So in this case, you can just to remember the section, there is a machine called rig machine, which helps in the extraction or production of mineral oil. So this section is basically talking about that thing. So that machine is rarely available in India. So generally what happens, the companies engaged in this business, in the business of extraction of mineral oils, they do what? They either outsource the service from a foreign company or any non-resident, or they get those plant and machinery on hiring basis from any foreign company or any non-residents, right? So this section is applicable to those non-residents who are either providing services or providing facilities, or who are supplying plant and machinery to Indian people, to Indian businesses on hiring basis to carry out extraction, prospecting, and production of mineral oils, right? Again, this section overrides all the provisions contained in section 28 up to section 43A, right? Now, this particular section says that the PGBP income of the SSE shall be 10% of the aggregate amounts given in the next 2 points. The first point says that the amount paid or payable to SSE either in India or outside India uh, uh, on account of providing services or facilities or plant or machinery on hiring basis in the cases where the prospecting, extraction, or the production of mineral oils has taken place in India, right? The amount is received either in India or outside India, but the activity of extraction of mineral oil must be done in India, right? So activity India में होना चाहिए, पैसा कहीं भी मिले doesn't matter, right? And the second point says what? The second point says that the amount must be received or it is deemed to be received in India, but the extraction of the mineral oil might be outside India, right? Again, it is based on those two simple principles, accrued in India and received in India. The first point says what? The activity of extraction of mineral oil must be done in India. So it says, it signifies it is accrued in India, right? And the second point says what? The amount must be received in India. So in this case, 10% of the aggregate of these two shall be considered as the PGBP income for taxation calculation, right? Again, another thing says that this subsection shall not apply where the provisions of section 44DA or section 115A apply for the purposes of PGBP. These two sections we will study further, right? Now, so by now we have completed section 44B, section 44BBA, section 44BB, right? The third point that we are going to, the fourth section that we are going to study is section 44BBB, section 44 triple B, right? This particular section says that special provision for computing PGBP income of foreign companies, right? In the last three sections, we studied about where the SSC is a non-resident, but in this section it is categorically mentioned that the SSC has to be a foreign company, right? Foreign company who is engaged in the business of civil constructions. Civil constructions, for example, turnkey power projects. Turnkey power projects का example we can take as बुलेट ट्रेन को इंडिया में अगर लाना है, सो इन दैट केस जिसका भी हमें हेल्प चाहिए होगा, all those we are talking about all those foreign companies in this section, right? So here the first point says that this section for section 44 triple B overrides all the provisions, listen to me carefully, overrides all the provisions mentioned in section 28 to section 44 AA, right? Up to now we were studying about section 23 section 28 to 43A, right? But in this section there are two differences. The first difference is that here the SSC is a foreign company, and the second difference is that this section overrides the provisions contained in section 28 to section 44 AA, right? Now in this case the SSC, who is a foreign company, he is engaged in the business of civil construction or the business of erection of plant or machinery or testing or commissioning, right? They are also engaged in the business of erection of plant and machinery or testing or commissioning, right? In connection with a turnkey power project approved by the central government in this behalf. So here one very important point is that which you need to highlight is that the turnkey power project is has to be approved by the central government, right? It has to be approved by the central government. So in this case what happens? In this case, what will be the PGBP income? The PGBP income will be 10% of the amount paid or payable to the SSC, whether in India or outside India, for the construction of construction of the turnkey project, whatever may be the subject, which is approved by your central government of India, right? So let's do a quick revision. Coming to the first section, that was your 44B. In that 7.5% was there. Now section 44BBA, there 5% was there. Next section 44BB, there again 10% was there. And lastly your section 44BBB, again 10% is there, right? Now another thing that you need to understand is that the first two sections, shipping business and aircraft business, section 44B and section 44BBA, these two sections are mandatory sections. Mandatory section का मतलब होता है even if your income is less than 7.5% or less than 5%, in that case also you have to pay tax on 7.5%. For example, your aggregate of those two conditions are 100 lakhs, right? 100 lakhs. And you are engaged in the business of shipping. So in this case, your PGBP income is supposed to be 7.5 lakhs, 7.5 lakhs, right? But your actual income, actual PGBP income is less than that. Let's say it is 4 lakhs, right? So even though your actual income is 4 lakhs, still you have to pay taxes on 7.5%, taxes on 7.5 lakhs, right? Because this is a mandatory section. If you are engaged in those businesses, then anyway you have to keep a mindset that yes, I have to pay a certain amount of money in respect of these two sections, right? And for aircraft business, what happens in that, in aircraft business also, if your the aggregate of those two conditions are 100 lakhs, so your PGBP income is deemed to be 5 lakhs. But if it is less than that, then what happens, uh, even though your income is 4 lakhs, still you have to pay tax on 5 lakhs, because your PGBP income will be considered as 5% only, राइट, 5% ओनली, नो चेंज और कोई छूट नहीं मिलने वाला है यहाँ पे, राइट? यू आर नॉट गोइंग टू गेट एनी कंसेशन इफ योर एक्चुअल इनकम इज लेस देन दैट. बट नाउ कमिंग टू द लास्ट टू sections, section 44BB and section 44BBB. In those cases, these are optional sections, right? If your total actual PGBP income is less than 10%, so in that case what happens, after auditing you can show that your actual income is less than 10%. You just need to conduct audit of your books of accounts, and then you can show that your PGBP income is less than 10%, and whatever will be the PGBP income, on that amount you're supposed to pay tax, right? I hope this is clear. So that was it for today's video. If you find this video helpful, then please hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, The Witty Turtle, and also don't forget to share this video with your CA and CMA inter and final friends, so that everybody will be benefited by this revision series.